Okay. For all of you who are on video every single time, like you're on video every single time. Like that is really super impressive. Kudos to you for showing up like 1,000% every time. It probably shows up in the rest of your business because of it. For those of you following along with like little baby Rotar here, I think we're down to 42 days. I'm gonna check my app just in case to give you an update on where we are. Yeah, 42 days. We've got a pumpkin, a bigger pumpkin than last week, apparently. So that's exciting. We've got a star-studded thing for the next like 12 weeks. So don't worry, like I'm still here. I just might be having a baby at the same time. Who knows? All good. Let's start out with shout outs. Any shout outs for your team, for your individual friends on the team, any gratitude that you want to share this morning, any wins that you're having that you are just excited to share. Michaela, I'm going to you.
Hey, good morning. I just want to shout out two of our kind of newer launchers, Courtney Mina and Chris Fires, both launched back in November. Chris just got 2 listings signed and is about to get a 3rd. And then Courtney just got a sell buy, and I think it's going to be a 3rd buy as well, just because of connections. So shout out to them. They graduated launch and they're hitting the ground running it. And I love hearing it.
Wow, where are they getting these listings? That's amazing.
Oh, it's crazy. It's like they're getting in Brivity and calling their sphere and doing open houses and stuff. I know. What an idea.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Chris and Courtney. Awesome. Great job. Thanks, Michaela. That's a good shout out. Valencia, good morning.
Good morning. I just want to give a shout out to a few of our silent assassins on our team. You will never hear them or see them, but they keep their head down and they work so hard. Amanda Benoit, April Cantu, Don Carpenter, and then we just hired some new guy. His name's Eric, and he literally spent all day calling y'all. I'm like, hey, do you want to eat lunch? And he says, well, maybe in a minute. And it was already 3:30. And I was like, get out. Like we had to kick him out of the office yesterday because he was just calling. So all of the silent assassins on our team and all of the Texas Nation, thank you.
Oh, I love that, man. That's good stuff. Yeah, some people don't eat lunch. Yeah, look at that guy. I love that. Love what's happening in Fort Worth. Anybody else have any shout outs, gratitude, or wins that they want to share before we move on? Jaime, I see you.
Hey, thank you, partner. Actually, I want to give a shout out to Joseph on our team. I feel like because he's my brother, I don't give him enough shout outs. But Joseph, I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you do. And you keep the wheels on over here in Houston. So we appreciate you.
That is absolutely right. And that I want to take that further to everyone who is a virtual professional on our teams, everyone who is in-house staff, any kind of operations. Absolutely, our wheels would all fall off without you guys. So grateful. Thank you for shouting that out. And I want to shout out Mackenzie and Faith on our team. Speaking of operations, we have had the most complex listings this week. I'm talking putting them in 5 different MLSs because Texas is weird like that. And just commercial and multifamily and everything that is not normal. And they made it through this week so far. So we're so grateful for you guys. And then I have a couple shout outs for agents. Akash in Austin, he pended a 345 buyer from a Quickly lead. Guys, get those signs in the yards because a Quickly lead is just someone texting for information. It's like a sign call. It's great. Joseph in Austin pended a 345 from Circle Prospecting. People still do that too, apparently. And Fatima in Austin pended a 355 seller from open houses. So good stuff happening. There's a really cool thing happening today. Who is a woman or identifies as a woman in the group here today? A few of you. I'm going to pop into chat something that you need to go to today. It's our first Women of Place virtual event. In fact, we have Vija this morning, which was like super awesome. Like you get to have her twice in one day, right? So there's the event bright link for you. So I hope you decide to join. And it's as a woman, You are powerful, you are independent, you are amazing, you are strong, and community is important. So that is our vision, is just providing a really cool community for the women in our company. So women of place, right? Then there's one more thing. Next week, who follows Brendan Bouchard? A few people? Okay. So next week, he is doing Growth Day Live in Austin. So if you have any sort of interest in coming down to Austin for Growth Day Live, I know I've heard about 4 tickets that are available. If you need one, right? They're about $400 now, but like those people got it at the $100 rate. So I think there's Ed is going to be speaking, Jamie Kern Lima, Brendan. I mean, it's going to be great. So if you want to jump in and just come down and see us, if you need a place to stay, anything like that, just let us know. We are here for you. And it is going to be April 20 to 23rd. Cool. I don't have any other announcements. Does anybody else have anything they want to announce? Valencia, do you have any coaching or training or anything coming up that I have totally missed? No? Oh man. Well, speaking then of coaching and training, we have the queen herself this morning. Super excited about having my good friend Vija joining us. I'm going to spotlight her. It is 6:30 her time, you guys.
I am big and I am spotlighted. Woo!
Yeah, you are. You are. She's
No
in
makeup on.
Washington. She is ready to hustle this morning. You were on the West Coast last week, right? Your son
on the East Coast last week.
Oh, East Coast,
Pretty
yes.
good. I'm pretty good. It's still, I just want to point out 6:39 a.m., which, and I'm in the office. So we're just gonna, you know.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. Her son she's got one son in Austin, Texas that goes to school here, and then another one in Virginia, right?
Yep. Hook 'em.
And then another one at home still. So
Another
you're
one at home.
busy.
Yeah. So
busy
she's a
woman.
7th grader. Yeah.
Busy woman. Vija is head of industry of Place. So if you've kind of lived under a rock for a little bit, that's okay. We're here for you. So this morning, we were talking about like topics, Vija. And if you know Vija, she always has topics. She always has content. She is a professional. And so this morning I thought, gosh, like why not have Vija, who's just got a ton of things, and let you take it away however you want to take it.
So Trix, and if anyone doesn't know here why I call her Trixie, that is a story for another time, but Trix is Adelina, and Trix said, I said, hey, you're, about 12 months pregnant and you don't have anyone for Power Up. So I'm going to offer to do it. I have an 8 a.m. Zoom. I'm still on East Coast time. I'll get some brownie points with you. And this is my moment to do it. If I'm ever going to come in at 6:30, I'm going to do it. So she's like, what do you want to talk about? And I just start sharing decks with her. And I think, how many did I send? Like 7. I'm like, I don't know. I could do this. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do this one. And finally she's like, wow. So I chose one. You want to know which one I chose?
I can't wait.
I know. Well, good, because you're going to find out. I chose this one.
I love that.
For a specific reason. And for all of you who I haven't met, hi, my name is pronounced Vija. It's spelled Vija. So you may have seen it and wondered how it was pronounced. That's how it's pronounced. And I am based in a suburb of Seattle. So I'm about 90 minutes from Bellingham, but I'm in Bellingham all the time because we have a house there too. And so if you're ever here in the hub or you're going to fly into SeaTac, would love to connect with you. I love connecting with people who are traveling, and I get a lot of that. So I would love to see you. But the reason I chose this one, I woke up this morning at the horrible hour of 5 a.m. Nobody should wake up at 5 a.m. Side note, I will never lead like a 5 a.m. club or whatever those things are called. It's never going to be me doing that.
You're not Miracle Morning.
No, yeah, Miracle Morning. No, I'm like Miracle Lunch or something. I don't think I'm Miracle Morning. But I was thinking about myself, and I thought, gosh, I talk with teams every single day of the week. As head of industry, I am talking to a couple different categories of teams around the US and Canada. One category is the very, very large teams. So when you see these big announcements come in, often I'm working with those and then their referrals and my friends. And I got to thinking about, what is everybody struggling with right now? What am I struggling with personally? And I don't know if you guys ever listened to Brene Brown. Is anyone here like Brene? She talks about day 2. Chris Suarez has brought it up as well. She talks about day 2, and sort of her context when she tells the story is that in a 3-day seminar, day 2 is the hardest. Everyone flags, everyone kind of loses motivation at that point. And it's just a little bit tougher to get through day 2. It's the middle, and I call it, Trixie's heard me say this, I call it during the during. It's during the during. It's not the beginning, it's not the end, it's kind of in the middle. And I think in sales, real estate specifically, having done it for over 20 years, I think what happens and what might be happening in this group, because it's happening with me, so you'll have to tell me, is there's a cycle, and we have a 90-day sales cycle. And in that cycle, where we start in that first 30 days is kind of a grind, but we kind of are prepared for it to be a grind. We kind of know it's going to be a grind. Sometimes that's January for us, right? And I think sort of February moving into March can be really, really tough time for sales, because what happens is you're starting to feel momentum. You're starting to feel like, I've got a lot of irons in the fire. Like if all this stuff pops, like I'm going to do really well, right? But the challenge is it's not popping yet. And staying motivated in that day 2, during, in that middle, for me, it can be really hard. I'm actually, just not to overshare it, but I'm kind of battling it now. I'm battling a little bit of a motivation challenge, because I like to win. And I know myself enough to know if I'm not getting enough wins, then I get discouraged and I get overwhelmed. And if any of you guys relate to that, I'd love to, if you're not driving, please, if you're driving, don't ever participate in my Zooms. But if you're not driving, I'd love you to hop in chat and tell me if that's something that you guys relate to. And I'm going to let me pull the chat up here so I can see it. I have it. You guys notice Zoom is very changed lately. There's like weird bars up on my screen now with Zoom. Okay, here we go. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for the one person who agreed with me. So I thought I'd do this one today because I needed it. You guys have heard this quote before. Ben actually said it at Built How. It's funny. It's been on my deck. People often say motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. And that's why we recommend it daily. Thought that was cute. I've had that on this deck for a long time. Does anyone here know where that beautiful, beautiful place is? I mean, it is like Garden of Eden on earth there. It is so incredibly beautiful there. That is Patagonia, which is it's way, yes, Elizabeth, it's at the very, very bottom of South America. In fact, it's the gateway to Antarctica, to give you an idea. It is way down at the tip, right? I've lost half of you because you're on your maps right now. Look it up later. It's absolutely stunning. And I can't recommend enough everyone going there. But this is me in Patagonia at about 7:30 in the morning last September, preparing to fail my attempt in walking a marathon in Patagonia. And the only reason I share this picture is because I knew I was going to fail walking in. I knew that I hadn't done the work ahead of time. You can predict your future, by the way, when you do the work ahead of time. You can predict your future. And my future was predicted. I had not had enough minutes on the pavement, and I knew that I was going to fail. In that picture, it was a very strange mental moment for me. This is the one picture I have of myself on the actual trail, because I was alone most of the time, because I was the last person. I was the last person in the running portion, because I was not a runner, I was a walker. And at one point, I caught up to somebody and they took a picture, and I took a picture of them. It's the only picture I have. And the only reason I'm sharing this is because I could not have summoned a burst of motivation in that moment. I could never have completed that marathon. And the reason I couldn't have done it is that I just hadn't done the time on task and time on task over time that I needed to do when I got there. I just knew it, right? The cast was die at that point. The die was cast, I should say. So motivation doesn't come from moments of inspiration and passion, which is weird because I just showed you a quote showing we need it every day. but we do need it every day. And that's how motivation works. What happens is it doesn't come from one burst of motivation. Motivation has to come daily. It has to be interwoven in your life. It has to be woven in the DNA of what you do as a salesperson. Otherwise, you will not get through that day 2 and that during. You won't get through the middle. If any of you here are in that season of your sales where you're like, I don't understand. I'm working so hard. I'm doing the numbers. I'm doing the things. I'm locking in brevity. Heck, I had a 1,000 dial day last month. I'm doing all the things, right? But for some reason, I'm just not popping. That these buyers aren't buying. I'm just not quite getting these listings yet. Keep listening, because everybody goes through seasons like that in their sales. And if you're not going through that now, you will. That's just the way it is, right? So a spark of, I think what I want to say to you is a spark of inspiration is something that's fleeting and momentary. Like I could have tried to summon that up at the starting line in Patagonia. I could have had this really like, every quote I knew and whatever. And the fact of the matter is that my motivation, and by the way, my confidence was super low because we build motivation and confidence. I can't talk. It is, well, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to invoke the 6:30 thing again. Your confidence and your motivation grows as you complete tasks and get better and better at them on a daily basis. It does not come from one moment. Has anyone here read that book, So Good They Can't Ignore You? One of my favorite books, top 10 books that I refer to people. Anybody here in your 20s absolutely needs to read that book. Anybody here who's questioning what they want to do, with their life is do you want to go into, maybe you're here because you're thinking about going into real estate. Maybe you're here because you're in real estate and you're not sure. It's a phenomenal book. And in that book, he says, do not follow your passion. Instead, let your passion follow you. What you're doing is becoming so good and working so hard at a skill that you can't be ignored. And then the passion comes. So the work comes first. The daily grind, the daily work, and the passion follows because we build motivation and we build confidence as we do the daily task, time on task, on time on task, on time on task. Very different, right? Very, very different. It was interesting. Steve Jobs identified his skill set and made a very successful career out of his abilities. He took how he was wired and he worked for hours and hours. He's notorious for doing like 20-hour days and hardly sleeping, right? He didn't follow his passions at all. He followed what he knew his skill set was, and he just did them time on task, on time, on task, on time. Speaking of which, this is my son, Michael. And for any of you guys who are a former music major at UT Austin or have kids or have ever been to the Butler School of Music at UT, that the left picture, or the middle picture, I should say, is taken there. And Michael is a music performance major there, playing the oboe. He's holding the oboe, which is a double reed instrument. And these are two of my favorite pictures I have taken of him of all time. I love these pictures, and they almost make me cry every time I see them, because what these pictures are is it's two different pictures of Michael at two different auditions. So for those of you who were an athlete, are an athlete, you have kids who are athletes, it's the same thing. Actors, music, there's a different way that you get into college. It's you in music and for actors and whatnot, you audition. So getting into colleges is just a different process because they have certain amount of rosters that they have scholarships, and it's just a little bit different for athletes and the arts when you're at that level. And Michael was at that level. And the picture in the middle picture, it was his very first audition he had gone on, and he was mentally preparing himself, and he just walked ahead of me, and I just dropped my bags. I took that picture because it was so poignant to me to see, I'm going to cry now, to see my son walking into adulthood, walking into that moment that he prepared for so many years for. The right-hand picture is a cool story, and it's a longer story. All I'll say about it now is that's at the University of Washington. and my elevator stopped and I happened to see him waiting in front of his audition. Your kids leave you when you take them there, you don't see them. So the parents wait in one area and they go off, you have no idea where their audition is. And I happened to be on an elevator in the music school, and I saw him in those precious moments before he was about to go into one of the most important performances of his life. Why do I share this with you? Michael estimates he's put in about 5,000 to 6,000 hours of his 10,000 hours. We did a calculation one night. Out of all of those hours that he's put in rehearsing by himself, rehearsing in ensembles, rehearsing in orchestras, being alone in practice rooms, hours on end, drill work, all of that, right? By the time he is at a performance, he figures he had a couple hundred hours in a performance time, maybe 300 max. So I don't have a calculator on me handy, but if you divide 300 in, let's just call it 5,000 hours. Maybe someone can put the percentage of what that is. What I know is it's got to be close to, okay, 6%. That's 9. I was going to say 95%. 95% of Michael's time is spent in preparation. 95% of Michael's time is spent practicing for the 5% of time he's performing. What's the analogy for us? What's the analogy? When we are at our appointments, and by the way, the holy grail of everything we do is an appointment in real estate. Can we all agree? Everything we do points to the appointment. And you know why that is? Because the end of our sales cycle as real estate agents, the end of our sales cycle isn't when we sell the house, guys. It's when we get a buyer to sign a buyer brokerage agreement, a buyer agency agreement, whatever you call them in Texas. And it's when we get a seller to sign a listing agreement. We've ended our sales cycle. They've chosen us. The rest of it is just us in transaction mode. Now we just need to find them a house to buy. Now we just need to sell their listing. But our sales cycle ends at that appointment. Everything we do should be pointing to getting us appointments. So if Michael's practicing in practice rooms with ensembles, with orchestras, we're prospecting. That's what we do. 95% of his time is spent with the equivalent of prospecting, when 5% of his time is spent in the equivalent of appointments. There's a lot of parallels here, but Michael's not always motivated. I've talked to him about it. I mean, it is hard to practice hours a day by yourself. A lot of the times he's just by himself in these, if you've ever seen these practice rooms, are really small. In fact, this is a practice room. That's a practice room right there. I took a picture of one of his, look how small that is. That's pretty normal. So when we talk about being so good they can't ignore you, which is from the book, really, in order to get there, we need to talk about consistency. Time over task, over time, over task, over time, again and again. And it is hard to do it. It's easy to say it, isn't it? It's easy to say we need to be consistent, but it's hard to actually do it. One interesting stat, and for those of you who share my joy and love of losing and gaining weight frequently, one interesting stat that has never left me is that there is research that when you share with the world that you're losing weight, or you're, like, okay, I have a goal, I'm going to work out 5 days a week now. Or perhaps you decide you're going to work out 5 days a week and you go to an athletic store, you go to Lululemon and you buy all the clothes, and then you go to Nike and you buy shoes, right? There's research that shows when you do those activities, you've satisfied your brain. Your brain thinks, oh, you took action, you went shopping. You told everybody, you got that satisfaction of telling everybody your goal, and you're done, and you never do it. You never do the activity you said you were going to do, right? So you need to, your brain can have a false sense that it's actually accomplished something towards the activity if you go shopping, if you tell everybody on Facebook or Instagram or Snap or TikTok or whatever that you've done it. So it's really important to build consistency in your life so that you don't fall into that trap of getting satisfaction and not doing the actual thing, which, by the way, exactly, Joseph, 100%, it's a dopamine hit. But your brain interprets it as, hey, you're taking action towards a goal. That's how your brain interprets it. So my advice to you is to focus on the process, not the outcome. This is one of my, if any of you ever seen me talk about my deeply held beliefs, I have another talk that I do on that. This has changed my life. A really, really great coach said this to me and really drilled this into me in 2018. And it immediately, almost immediately, it changed how I thought about things. And I think that the biggest thing that I would tell you guys as salespeople is in order to focus on the process and not the outcome, you have to be able to create daily wins and let yourself be rewarded on process steps, not the final outcome. So you have to learn how to really feel internally that your day is a success if you did your 2 hours of lead gen. You know, legitimately, we all block out time. There's times where we all sit at our desk and halfway do it, right? Halfway do it. But I mean, really do it, like, you know, to the best of your ability, really say, did I actually do as much work as I should have done today, right? And we have to learn to focus on wins and understanding that the process is going to give us that dopamine hit, not the outcome. And we have to do that daily. We have to do that daily. This is another picture that we don't have time for this story. All I will say is this was my second marathon last year. And some of you recognize it who have done it. That's the New York Marathon. And I am laughing. This is the first mile. And I did jog a little bit on that one. I didn't make this one either. And part of the reason I'm laughing is I 100% knew I wasn't going to complete it. In fact, I canceled my trip to go to New York. This is the one that Chris Suarez, me, Sarita, Dua, Chris Suarez, a couple of us did it together. And Brian Gubernick did this one. And I didn't make it. And I think that the best way I could describe it is that you choose your goal, and you choose your goal because you want the goal to define the process. Why did I choose to try to do a marathon last year? Because I knew it would get me into motion, walking and running every day. I didn't do it, by the way. That's a failure talk. That's a different talk. You can choose your goal, but you can't always choose how you achieve it. So you have to do whatever it takes to achieve it. And by setting the goal, you're resetting your daily activities, right? So if you want to run a marathon, don't talk to me about it. I'm the worst person to talk to about it, first of all, but you have to make time for the daily activity to run that marathon. You literally cannot do it unless you're an incredible, look, you know, a small percentage of you can do it because you're in incredible physical shape. But for the most part, most of us mere mortals, we can't. We can't do it because we just don't have the physical ability to show up and do it without a certain amount of time on the pavement. You have to do the process that the goal dictates. And you don't always know what that is. You don't always know in advance, and you have to revisit that and get really attached to the process to get there. Changing your behavior and doing that is really hard. It is really easy for me to sit behind a PowerPoint and tell you this today, but ladies and gentlemen, waking up at 6 a.m. in all seriousness, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. every morning and trying to exercise like that when every ounce of my body is not wired for that, it was really hard. And ultimately I failed. But you know what I did do? I did a heck of a lot more than I ever would have done. I got as far as 17 and a half miles, which I never would have gotten that far if I wouldn't have done that, right? I'm really, really happy. I think one of my big lessons that I learned, and it's something to consider, and it's the biggest theme in my life this year that I work on with my coach every single coaching session, is I learned last year, it wasn't just the marathon, it was a couple different things, that I had to be impeccable with my word. That I had to be impeccable and trust my own word. I had to learn to trust that I was going to do the things I told myself I would do. And I kept trying to figure out why I wasn't trustworthy to myself and others. And you know why? It was because I didn't trust my own word. I kept saying I was going to run. I kept saying I was going to walk, and I didn't do it. And so what happened is I lost trust in myself, and I believe others probably lost trust in me because they saw me not fulfilling what I was doing to my own word. So when we bring it back to sales and we bring it back to real estate, are you telling yourself that you're going to prospect every day? Are you telling yourself you're going to show up and do the work? And do you trust that word? Are you falling into the habit of not doing what you tell yourself? That's scary. It is really scary. I got there last year. I really got there. And I have to tell you, unwinding that and going back to an absolute foundation of being able to trust my own word, man, ladies and gentlemen, address this now within yourself. Are you doing what you say you're going to do to yourself? So we have to create daily wins to fall in love with the process, and we have to change our behavior. We want to make process daily wins. In fact, this might be something good to talk about at tomorrow's Chris's call, but at a power up together. And maybe you guys can brainstorm and mastermind on what would a daily win be? You know, what could we celebrate? Personally, I just think it's setting a goal, showing up, and not leaving until that is set. And I have to tell you, I'm so much better internally because of making this change. Is it perfect? Will you still break your own word? Yeah, you will. But are you going to get better, hopefully, every day when you focus on it? Yes, you will. Yes, you will. One of the things that, and by the way, Motivation Myth is where I got some of this content. It's a great book. I'll show you the author when we're done. I really, really enjoyed this book. Boy, I must have read it 4 or 5 years ago, but I love one of his concepts, and it's an extremely productive day, EPD. And the reason I like it is it goes so well with what we do at Place. This is your 1,000 dial day, right? This is your or 100 contact day or 50 contact day. But those days where we say, all right, like I'm just going to come in and crush it. So, you know, we were talking about goals, and we all know that our math changes with different seasons of real estate. So we know right now our math might look different. Like if your ratio of, you know, if it takes you 10 calls to schedule 3 appointments normally, it might take you 20 calls to schedule 3 appointments right now, or whatever the ratio is. So using your ratio today, right? Which some of you are going to have to guess, which is fine, but you can kind of have an idea. And side note, if you ever work with me, and at any team that I've ever led, there will be one focus and one focus only, and that will always be on appointments. To me, that is us being on stage, just like my son, Michael, right? Appointments in real estate is what all activities lead to, that moment. That is our moment. So for me, I always work backwards and reverse engineer appointments. I understand that for some of you new people, I think that contacts are a really good thing to measure. For some of you in the room who are more seasoned, I would encourage you, if you're not doing that already, put all the weight on appointments. Your life will change if you change the number of appointments you go on every week with new clients. I just think that appointments are where all the pressure should be. And yes, Adeline is absolutely right. You know, many of you need to focus on contacts in order to hit that number, right? For sure, right? So having an extremely productive day, and I want you guys to consider it, you know, maybe this is once a month, maybe this is the day that we have call night or inventory creation day, you know, whatever we're doing, but consider starting your months off with 1 EPD. It really, really works. Or just a random day. And by the way, it doesn't have to be the first of the month, and it doesn't have to be a Monday. It can be a Thursday. Like, that's okay. Whatever it is, if you're finding that you're listening to me this morning and you're feeling a little convicted on things, go have an EPD tomorrow, go have an EPD Monday, clear everything, and just kind of get yourself motivated again and start getting results. Right? I love weaving in EPDs in weaving them in our regular schedule like that. So I thought I would just end with that little tip, but I'd love to hear ahas, thoughts, comments, if any of that landed at all for anybody. I'd sure love to hear about it. My reward for being here at 6:30 in the morning would be hearing your ahas.
This is actually, sorry.
No,
This is actually really huge for me because I'm meeting with one of my coaches today to relook in the middle of April at my 411 because it's too detailed, and
Yeah.
I was scared to take out my contacts, and now I have to because I'm not focused on the appointments. I'm focused on the contacts.
Well, and again, I don't want to get in the way of whatever your sales plan is. I really don't. Like, I don't want to put a monkey wrench in that. If that's
No, it's what I need. It may not be for everybody, but for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But to me, everything we do is to get an appointment. And then, you know, if you really want to go down that rabbit hole, Alicia, it's like, how are we prepared? How prepared are we for that moment? How prepared are we? Like everything we do should be to get that appointment and be stellar in that appointment. You know, are you asking yourself questions after every single appointment? All right, what did I do awesome? What could I work on? What am I going to do the same? What am I going to do differently? Right? What do I think landed well? And, you know, do I need to practice more closing techniques? Do I need to practice, whatever it is, but But if we can view those appointments in our world, I view them as that's my stage time. That is my moment. That is my moment, is every single appointment. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I'll jump in here.
Yeah.
I think I recently, I think I've been, like we all talked about, in a slump, right? Kind of bottoming out, that, that during that sales cycle and having a hard time getting momentum going. And so for me personally, like you kind of touched on, like I need a professional wins and I need personal wins, right? So I signed up for an Ironman again. It'll be my second one in October, right? And so it's just, I need that personal win in the morning to get going, get into my day. And then from there, I'm jump started and can go into a professional wins throughout the day, setting appointments, getting people move forward. So just kind of layering personal and professional together.
I love that so much. And I just love when we talk about the concept of keeping our promises to ourselves. You guys who are true athletes like that, I'm in awe of you, because you tell yourself you're going to do certain things and you actually do it. And by the way, side note on that, for any of you, some of you that are not resonating with this because you naturally are just really great at that. If you are struggling this, I don't know if I shared this before, Adeline, I don't know if you know this, but you know where I started? I started making my bed every morning. I thought, if I can promise myself one thing, if I can just wake up and make my bed in the morning, then I've already fulfilled a promise. And that little step went a long way. Every day since July last year, I made my bed, and it seems really funny, but I just needed to choose one thing that I could conquer, as I started layering on this new habit in my life.
Speaking of the passion mindset versus that craftsman mindset, I remember reading that book, Vija, and it was, and you can correct me, I think passion was, what can the world offer me? And craftsman mindset was, what can I offer the world? And because we think of passion as a good thing, right? Like it's not a negative thing, but in that context, it feels a little negative. And I remember reading, and the specific on it was, if I only focus on it from a perspective of passion, then it makes me very hyper aware of what I don't like about my work, right? And especially in that first year, the first 2 years, the first 3 years, right? During,
yep.
Like I'm very hyper aware of all the reasons, like I don't like doing this, right? And so instead of focusing on the passion portion, focus on the craftsman portion of how is this helping the world? How is this helping my purpose that I set out to do? That was something that was important to me. I love that book. I have completely forgotten about it. It's a good book recommendation.
It's so good. Just to build on that, Trix, I love that. And because I kind of touched on it a little bit with Steve Jobs, but in the spirit of time, I kept moving on. But I remember a story with that, with the point you're talking about. And it was a gal who, she said, look, you don't grow up in elementary school and say, I want to be an infectious disease specialist and change the world. You just don't do that. That's not normal. So she goes, so I didn't. I wanted to do whatever I wanted to do. And then I got into medical school, and my skill sets and my behavior style and all of that aligned. And I became one of the world's experts in infectious diseases. And now I'm leading Africa in something. And she said, I am more passionate about this than anything in the planet. This is my world. This is my life. So she developed a passion because she put in years and years. You talk about 10,000 hours, right? She put in the work, but it aligned also with her skill set, and also what I would call the zone of genius that Gay Hendricks talks about a lot, the zone of genius, right? And flow, whatever it is. But so just to kind of build on that, Trix, that I think about that a lot. I think about her story a lot, about how she developed the passion based on the work done. And I think a lot of us, it's okay that maybe some of us said we wanted to be real estate agents in the 5th grade. Who cares if we did or didn't? You can develop a massive passion. I have a massive passion around this industry and around what we do now after, 20 years in. I love it. It's just developed over years.
Pamela, did you have your hand up?
Hello. Yes, I did.
I know. You've got something good to share.
Good morning. So the team and I, a couple of members on the team, we decided that we're going to do something together as well. And we're going to do like some relay racing in Corpus Christi in May. And it resonated with me what she was saying, because I've been so busy doing all of the things and activities, and I have not been training. And it's going to be creeping up on me. And, know I need to condition my body. I am a previous athlete, not current. So, just doing that training and doing the work. And I don't want to be out there dying, and also now I have my team with me and we're depending on each other. So thank you for saying that, because it's like, you agreed to do something, now you need to go do the work so that you can continue to do it. And then speaking on the during, so I am definitely in my moment of during. January, I was going so hard, in the office, how I was supposed to be doing my activities really hard, grinding. And then I started getting busy. And now I'm in the moment of during, where I have some pendings, I have some closings, but my business, I can see ahead. And, my team coach, Brandon, he's so awesome with pointing it out, like, okay, he's letting me make it a little bit, but he knows that I can be broke real soon. And I always tell him that, I'm like, I don't want to be broke anymore. I don't want to be broke, but it can happen. So definitely in my moment of during, and, realizing, hey, this is your choice, and what you're going to do is going to go ahead and push you to where you want to be. So do it, right? Because that's what I promised. So thank you. I just wanted to share that.
I love that. And I know our time's coming to close, but I have to add that to that awesome share, because two things popped out at me and they're the same thing. And that is, you have to put pressure today, right now, next 4 to 6 weeks on that race you're doing, on that relay race, because the last few weeks you're tapering, right? So this is your moment now. So you need to pour in every level of accountability that you can possibly do the next 6 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is, not later. Like, it's just too late. And the second thing is, just as a reminder to all of us, we work in 90-day cycles. And we just, I'm saying this to myself right now, like, Via, you work in 90-day cycles, you work, because it does get a little discouraging when I'm doing it all right. Do I suck? Maybe I'm not good. I don't know. All the thing crops up, and we just always have to remember that. So the minute we have a closing, right, we have to be in all levels of that 90-day cycle every single day. And by the way, side note, that's where tech comes in. That's why we couldn't do what we do at this pace without Brevity. It's just physically not possible to a human being to keep track of every day is a new 90-day cycle for someone, right? So I love that, Pamela. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
You guys were awesome this morning. And I love the conversation on cycles. Like, life is full of cycles. Like, there's a cycle for parenting, right? It's called 18 years, right? And then after that, they kind of go off and do their thing, and you cross your fingers and hope for the best, right? There's a sales cycle of 90 days, right? And for some of us, like Austin, Texas, who has 200% more inventory, might be a little longer than 90 days now,
Yeah.
guys, right? There's baby making cycle, 9 months, right? Cycles are part of life. Like, we're not going to get away from them. And I remember talking maybe 2 months or so ago, and we were like, we were so tired of hearing the word contacts. If we hear another contact conversation or Brevity call conversation, shoot us now, right? And what I took away from this call, Via, was, it's not about that. It's approach your life, approach your work like a true performer, right? And there's laws around that, just like it would be for auditioning, in a symphony or anything else that we would decide to do, right? Our filter is, how do we approach our work like a true performer? And that's it. And you can call, for some people, that's going to be door knocking. Some people, it's going to be picking up the phone. Others, it's going to be getting out there, networking, whatever it is for you. Like, what is that going to look like for you to be a true performer in this career that you have been called to and that you've chosen? Via, you're awesome. Thank you for this morning. If I'm going to go ahead and post one more time in Slack, and not Slack, I'm in Slack mode already, guys. I'm going to post one more time in our chat. Women of Place are
yes, we'd love to see all of you ladies there today.
Yes, it's today at 3 o'clock. If you want more of Via,
we have 2 Texas people that we're featuring.
Yes, tell us who it is.
Laura Castillo and Hillary from Jeanette's team.
Yes. Okay. So Hillary, and we had Hillary last week. How lucky are we? And then Laura Castillo in Midland. And then who else are our guests today?
And then we have Olivia, it's not Jelensky anymore, Olivia Lazinski and Savannah Dow from Brevity. So we have 2 hub employees, and that's part of our goal, is we just want to represent all different, agents, operators, hub employees, our awesome tech chicks. So I just wanted to pull from all of them. So we're going to have, the topic is how to lead when you're scared, bad, dadless, shitless.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, right on. You can say it. You can say this is Texas.
Okay.
Say a lot of things around here. All right, guys, have an awesome rest of your weekend. Get those open houses so you can control your price point. And then we will see you next Thursday. Have an awesome day. Bye, guys.
Thank you.